This week, we follow the Nightingale's song down the Pacific Drive because nothing matters anymore! This and more on episode 183 of Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot! Everybody, I am Josh, joined by the Reverend and the Vance on episode 183? Yes, 183 of Indie Game Riot. And this, just want to real quick, before we talk about our weeks or whatever's going on, just a reminder that Indie Revolution Expo, registrations are open. Things are coming in. That means time slots are getting filled up. We do try and not reject any games, assuming that they are in an exhibitable state. But it's easier to get the time slots that work for you if you get it in early. So, and then same thing goes with any kind of talks or presentations you want to do. I know I have some coming in soon from various people. So, if you got certain slots that you want to do a presentation on, again, register the sooner the better. I am starting to work on the schedules now as we speak. They're not, they are tentative, but, again, sooner the better. For those of you who don't know what Indie Revolution Expo is 100% digital, 100% free indie game convention that we do every year that Indie Game Riot has been. And it's going to be on here on twitch.tv/JoshandYa, where we're going to be showing off all the games that were registered. We're going to be
giveaways.
There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be talks. I know. I hope you guys don't mind, but you're going to be there anyway. I signed us up to do because every year we usually do a
recap episode.
No. Well, I think we decided not to do a recap episode this time until like the following week. But we do I think we were calling it press on, for press by press, I think is what we were calling it. I called it something different, but same difference is about tips and tricks on how to get your game noticed, the do's and don'ts. So just, we've had legal advice previous years, marketing advice. Mm-hmm. We've had random discussions about console gaming for indie games, and
we've had game devs talk about equity in games and the business side.
Yep.
So like how to make a game with your friends without killing each other and not setting each other up to be screwed over down the road.
Yeah. All really interesting stuff, especially if you are an indie dev, but interesting to anyone who's interested in indie games. We're going to have some live gameplay awards at the end of the weekend because it's a 3-week-long thing. And, again, a reminder, IRX Jam will be happening in April. So, and I believe you set that up for
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
I think it was 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a longer jam.
Something like that.
But those games will be featured during IRX, and you have the potential to win a prize and an IRX t-shirt. So
and $100.
Yeah, that's what I meant. $100 in an IRX t-shirt. So yeah, get your asses out there, do it. We also have just another kind of putting out there. I did set up a date and time. Date and time for those guests.
Nope. Surprise interview.
Those guests that
should we pin it?
Well, because they're big names. This is kind of a big deal. So for those who are fans of a little game called Binding of Isaac, we're going to have Edmund McMillan and
Super Meat Boy Time for Cook.
Yeah, and Tyler Glale. They're working on a game called Eugenics. We're going to talk to them about that. We're going to talk to them just about indie games in general.
Wait, we're getting both of them?
We're getting both of them. Yeah.
Remember last week I said that like us on the show are sometimes as much in the dark as you, the audience. Last I heard, we were just talking to Ed.
Well, we just settled on a date today.
Nice.
So
Good.
And that's going to be the 19th. So it is still going to be a Tuesday. However, on the 19th, we're going to be starting 2 hours later because they are both on Pacific time, and they just happen to not be available before 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. So we are going to have to start 2 hours later to do that. But it'll be worth it because they're cool dudes. All right. Do you guys have anything to say for this week?
No, I think there was a lot. We should we should move to an indie news injection, I think.
All right.
Pump it right into my veins.
This week on Indie News Injection, we're going to be covering just real quick the fact that Stardew Valley has sold 30 million copies just recently, and they're, according to Concerned Ape, still going strong, which doesn't surprise me. Although I think about that 30 million, holy shit, that's a lot. Now I'm thinking about it, but that is a ton of copies. Like AAA games, if a AAA game sold 30 million copies, what are they? I mean, they would be fucking, I don't know, GTA, I guess. I mean, they sold, I don't. What is I forget what the record
that have sold 30 million copies.
Maybe Pokemon. But as he's looking that up, that's just crazy to me. And congrats to Concerned Ape for that.
The Witcher 3, Diablo 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original.
I mean, there's the class that it's in.
Yeah,
but that's not only
in terms of players.
Yeah, that's not the only news, but they also are going to be releasing update 1.6, which is supposed to be a fairly big update. Not a ton of details, but there's going to be things. There's going to be things like where did that image go? Well, I lost the image. I know there's going to be like a new map. There's going to be some new endgame content for both there's like the Joja Mart route and the non-Joja Mart route. There's going to be some new secrets, some new character dialogue, some other graphical updates, new events in the game. So for those of you who are fans of Stardew Valley, I personally love Stardew Valley. Although it's one of those games that I play, and I will play obsessively for a little bit, and then I'll stop for a while. And if you stop for a while and you come back to it, you're like, what the fuck was I doing? Where am I at? I got to start over again. I've never finished the game. Never finished it. And it eats away in my mind that I've never finished this because I want to so bad. But anyway, 1.6 updates coming out in March, sometime in the middle of the March 19th to be specific. And they're going to be updating this on console and mobile as well. You can play this on mobile, which I don't know how you do that, honestly, but you can. So get excited for that if you are a fan. But something not to get excited.
To put it in perspective, it's almost caught up with Terraria. Terraria's at 35 million. Terraria's at 35 million copies sold. Red Dead Redemption 2 is at 37 million.
Terraria has been around for a lot longer than Stardew Valley. I want to say like 2011.
Yeah,
I think. That's a game that I've always wanted to get into, but never could. I just can't figure it out. I need someone to hold my hand.
I played a bit, but
yeah, I need someone. To hold my hand.
as of like last year, they're at about 35 million copies, and Stardew Valley's catching up. So
there you go. Speaking of not good things.
Oh boy, yeah. Let's talk about my favorite. Can we just kill the rich? Like let's just start there, right? Like if you make $1 billion, if you as an individual make $1 billion, or your family, let's do it based on family. That'll work with population issues as well. If your family makes $1 billion, you have exactly 1 month to drop yourself below $999,999,999.99. And if you don't do that, we make a massive dog park for you, and then we kill your entire family, seize all of your assets, and redistribute them. I am so sick of corporate greed. I'm so sick of corporate greed. This year, has been like last year and this year are on track to be some of the most profitable years for all gaming industry. And yet we are getting record layoffs. Last year, they had about 10,500 people laid off across the industry, right? And that was last year, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong, like that's a lot of people that just like lost their job last year. We're at the end of February. We're already at that level. Like we're almost on track to beat that. I think we're within like a couple. No, I apologize. We're over that. We're at over 12,000 layoffs already this year, with more to come.
And
EA just announced they're laying off like 1,000 people. PlayStation
if you go back to like around the holidays in 2023, the amount that's
where most of those layoffs kicked off.
Which is great when right around the holidays when you're trying to give a good time for your family.
I got laid off the day before Thanksgiving one year, and that fucking sucked. But like, yeah, no, they're all like PlayStation is laying off tons of people. EA, as part of their corporate restructuring, they've decided that they're going to focus more on the things that they actually own, as opposed to the IPs that they are paying millions of dollars to license. And so they're restructuring and laying off like 1,000 people. They're closing several studios, laying off most of those studios and absorbing a few of them into other locations. Like Respawn is now gone. Like just like all of their shit has been canceled and they're being redistributed to other studios. PlayStation is laying off, I think, like 9% of their in-house. Like it is absolutely insane how many people are doing this. Yeah, these are super like supermassive games. Yeah, supermassive games. Naughty Dog. Like these are massive groups that are laying off staff and developers. Like let's see, Xbox is laying off thousands. Why is this article so bad?
Well, what is the reason for this? Is there an indication of what's going on in the industry that is causing so many layoffs from so many different companies?
Line has to go up.
Well, that's always the case, though. I mean, so what's different now?
No, like nothing. Like literally nothing. They're taking these teams that have been together for like years upon years. Like Microsoft, I can kind of get a little bit of credit to, because Microsoft Studios already has like their own game studio infrastructure, right? Like their corporate structure for that. Yeah. And they just bought Activision Blizzard and ZeniMax, right?
Never mind the implications of monopolies, but I do get
no, that's all. But like but like they're just absorbing Activision Blizzard and ZeniMax, right? So you're not going to need 3 HR departments once the mergers are complete. You're not going to need 3 CEOs of the gaming division. Like some of that makes sense. But like going through and taking an axe to all of these jobs and all of these properties, like there are games that are like, oh hey, we're getting ready for beta and we're chopping it as a tax write-off, because then we can take that on our taxes as an unrealized expense, right? Like there's nothing coming back from that. It's the same bullshit that
they're basically incentivized to do it because of tax loopholes and things like. It's the same thing in the game. Not only are the layoffs the issue, but then you mentioned a bunch of projects being canceled. Perfectly like exciting, like good pieces of work that were supposed to come out that are being canceled. And not only are they getting tax write-offs on the layoffs, but they're getting tax write-offs on these projects that are being canceled. Just the same way that Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers Discovery started just getting rid of shit on HBO Max. Just like full movies ready to come out, and they're just like, nah,
No, you can't do that
tax
anymore.
write-off, so
But like all of these companies are doing it, and the official statement is always, oh, we're gonna focus on our core business. Like I shit you not, Unity, we shit on them for all of their bullshit, and apparently they like tanked, obviously, because you can't do that even with the walkbacks. In January they laid off 2,000 employees in order to focus on our core business and drive our long-term success and profitability. So just fire the people that do things. Yeah, Riot Games is laying off about 1,000 people so far, and we rolled out hiring slowdowns and hiring freezes. We're controlling costs while strengthening our revenue growth, all of which has been tough for our teams. We're going to focus on our core stuff. Discord has laid off like 17% of its staff, and we use Discord here for recording our show and communicating with devs and fans. Like they laid off almost 20% of their staff, so because line has to go up. Laid off thousands of people, or 1,000 people, because had the hit with was it Taiwan or South Korea or something that like screwed them up. We talked about it. What was it?
Was it Hong Kong or not Hong Kong? Yeah, no. Why can't I think of geography?
Yeah, no. My thing is it's an Asian country.
The one that Chinese is like China is like that's our place, and they're like no,
Taiwan.
Yeah,
I was right. I was right. It was Taiwan.
Jesus, Taiwan. Yeah.
Yeah. So like all of these companies are all posting record profits. Not even record revenue, just record profits. And we've already laid off more people this year than we did last year. It's insanity.
So there must be some reason for it. I mean, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, sure, you can say, well, it's greed. Okay, sure, but greed is always present. That's always. So I would be really interested to find out, what's going on right now that's different than what was going on the same time last year, right?
I mean, to me, it just seems like.
If it's
taxes. I think that's
if it's anything, that may be part of it. I mean, like EA's layoffs are going to cost them $125 million.
$125 million,
right?
They don't have to pay in taxes.
That like in order to lay off all of those people, it is going to cost them $125 million
for severances,
severances, and vacation accrual payouts and all of that kind of stuff, right? But like. Even like getting rid of all of that staff and then paying $125 million on top of it, and you still see that as being a positive. The only thing that I can think of, because everybody's just being super tight-lipped about it, the only thing that I can think of is that they're doing the same thing that all of the tech giants were doing in 2022 and 2023, and that is that in order to attract talent, you have to pay talent. And so they've been paying people, and they don't want to pay people that much. And so they're all colluded. Like, we have emails from the tech giants going like, yeah, we're going to lay off 10,000 people this week. And you we're not going to hire anybody above this salary rate. And then the others go, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do the same. Like, that's the only thing that I can think of.
Was that illegal at the time, or were they?
It's always been illegal. That doesn't stop them from doing it. Who is going to sue Facebook? Who is going to sue Facebook?
Well, I mean, the government hates Facebook, let's be honest. But
sure. But like the Republicans aren't going to do. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the politics on that. But like, who's going to sue Adobe?
Yeah.
Or Autodesk. Like we're talking about companies that were like they don't actually provide anything physical. It's software only, but it is so integral to what we do as a society at all kinds of levels. Take that back. Several tech companies have. Microsoft was sued in 2013 for doing this very thing. They're doing it again. It's the only thing. Maybe
Rev's
and this is the part that I want to talk about, because this was a Rev rant to get to this point.
Your rant's making your network kind of fuck up, so just take it, because I can hear like
calm down.
You were freezing
Am
up
I
there
better?
for a second. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. The potential positive in all of this is we now have like 12,000 game developers as of this writing that are looking for something to do, whether that be a full-time job doing something or projects to keep themselves up. Maybe they're going to take a sabbatical and do something on the side. Could we reasonably see another surge of indie games? Like, I don't want to say like a second golden age, but like, could we see another resurgence?
I think we kind of are seeing the beginnings of it. Constantly, like I'd say at least once a week, I'm seeing stuff come through like, oh, these AAA devs from these large games are starting their own studio. I just saw some guy from Call of Duty is starting something called Bullet Farm. I think was the name of the game that they were going to work on. So I think it's definitely starting, and if it's not, I would say I would reach out to all the devs out there who have been laid off, and I know it's scary having to not have a safety net and depend on yourself and run your own company or work in your own small company, but try to do it. I know it's easier said than done, but like there are many examples of it working out if you are talented, if you have the know-how, if you have some following or funding or both. Not even just in game development, but like look at the people that said fuck Game Informer, journalists. Some guy, they were gonna let I forget what the guy's name was, but they were gonna let him go, and like everyone there was like, if you're gonna let him go, we're all gone, and then they all left.
Oh yeah, you're talking.
He froze up. So, but they all left, and they made a company called Second Wind, and it's doing very well. It's only been around for less than a year. Same thing happened with kind of.
It's funny. Yahtzee, zero punctuation.
Yeah, he was part of that.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Kind of Funny Games or Kind of Funny Podcast. I forget. The guy's name is Greg. I can't think of his last name. Shows you how much I listen to other journalists. But anyway, point is that, and there's plenty of examples that you can follow and try your own thing. A lot of times, I mean, it's scary because you don't have that financial safety net. Maybe you don't have savings or something like that. But you got to do, like, at least while you're looking for a job, you got to do something, right? Work with your friends that have been laid off. Try and push something out, even if it's something small, to get a little bit of income and a little bit of notoriety, since you're by yourself. And then you're not working for the man, and you don't have to be like Rev over here screaming to the point where his camera is freezing up.
My camera freezes up on me.
Yeah.
Here's the flip side to this, though. And again, like, I'm sorry, I'm playing devil's advocate to my own positivity. Looking at the number of games that have been published, like full release games on Steam, they're growing, not exponentially, but they are steadily growing, right? Like from 2000, we'll just go from like 2010 to present, right? In 2010, there were less than 300 games released in that entire year. We didn't break 300 games released on Steam in a full year until 2012. Then it went up to 2013.
But you have to realize that up until about 2017, it was very difficult to get a game on Steam.
Right? No, absolutely.
It wasn't that people weren't making games and trying to release them. It was that Steam was gatekeeping, right?
And it has gotten easier, and we're seeing that now. Like the point I was getting to was, like, in 2020, there was just under 10,000 games that were released on Steam. Last year, there was almost 14,500 games. This year, we're already at 3,000 games.
I want to point out too that the games that we're talking about tonight, 2 of them at least, are from developers, or at least some of the developers who are coming from AAA games. I'm looking at for Pacific Drive, we're going to talk about next. They have developers from, where are the big ones here? They have Zelda, Ratchet and Clank, BioShock, Call of Duty, League of Legends, Age of Empires, Mortal Kombat. That's just some of them. Nightingale, I was trying to look, but I would put money on the fact that it's the same thing with them. They probably have a bunch of experienced devs as well. So it's definitely doable, and I would highly encourage it, because all you're going to do is, the thing about indie games is you notice with AAA games, with the release dates, it's very competitive, and we can't release at this time because there's other games releasing then, and we don't want to, it's kind of like the same thing with movies. They're worried about people not checking out their stuff when they're checking out someone else's stuff. But in indie games, it never seems that way. When there's a big indie game release that everyone's looking forward to, and it's not like people are going to be like, I'm not going to play anything else, usually speaking. But it's more like the rising tides floats all boats, right? So, or however that saying goes.
I got you. Close enough.
I mean, that's what I've noticed since doing Indie Game Riot, at least. It's not like when I'm going to check out games either that I'm like, I mean, I guess there is like a budget restriction, but like maybe they're not, like, there's no pressure to get that initial surge of money. Like usually, sometimes there's publishers, but indie publishers tend to be more understanding, where you can spread that money out, and it's like, well, the money comes in at some point, right? I don't know. I just really encourage it.
One of my favorite things is looking on our game dev and our indie games, or indie dev, and like seeing people celebrate the fact that they got 50 wish lists. Or, and they're like, I'm so excited. Like, it's one of my all-time favorite, like, give me that dopamine, like an indie news injection kind of thing, where it's just straight up, like, I love seeing it. They're like, I worked on this game for like 6 months, and then I did this, and I did like one showing here, and I got got it to the hands of one YouTuber, and I got like 100 wish lists, and, my game's been out for 6 months and I made $60.
That reminds me of the old days from YouTube, like early YouTube,
right?
Where you're like, all right, I got 100 subscribers. Holy shit! That is a cool.
That episode got 50 views.
Seriously, I mean, hell, granted, our episodes are on various platforms,
longer,
and longer, so it's like we get from everywhere. But on YouTube, we're kind of there on YouTube. So I get it. It does feel nice. It's definitely fueled by passion most of the time.
Yeah.
Rather than that fucking capitalist greed that Rev hates so very much. But what can fucking, I don't know.
We're starting
a riot. This week on Starting the Riot, we're talking about Pacific Drive. First off, again, tying back to Indie News Injection, our discussion here, this is a studio comprised of a whole lot of veteran developers that decided to take their own destiny into their own hands, and have made a fucking fantastic game. I've had a ton of fun playing this. So Pacific Drive, you are, quote, the driver who has found themselves sucked into the, I think it's called the
zone.
It's like the exclusion zone, or it's called like the Olympic Peninsula, I believe.
Oh yeah, the Olympic zone. Yeah, something like that.
Where various technological experiments have gone awry back in like the 60s, and over time, because this game takes place in like the mid 90s, I believe. And over time, it has warped and corrupted the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't really give a specific area, but just the general Pacific Northwest. They nailed the feel, by the way, of that setting. The technology is definitely varied from the 60s into the 90s. There's, I don't know.
Some of it had a very like Portal kind of feel, Portal 2 feel. Like, did you get that at all?
Nah, I mean, what do you mean in like just the vibe?
Like the technology and the vibe,
yeah, a little bit. I could see that. But yeah, they really nailed like the setting, especially because when you are in the Olympic zone and you're out driving, and it's not a surprise that you drive in a game called Pacific Drive. You are going through these deciduous forests. It is rainy most of the time. Fog rolls through. It's got this like that Pacific Northwest creep factor that like Stephen King utilizes, and a lot of horror authors and directors and people like that.
Stephanie Meyer wishes she did.
Yeah. So they just really did a good job about that. So go back to my point. The game is about you being the driver. You get sucked into this exclusion zone, and everything in this zone is warped and constantly changing because of these anomalies, they call them. And as you're playing, you find one of these anomalies, and that anomaly is a car. They actually call these specific kinds of anomalies remnants.
Remnants.
Yes. And the fact that you have a car as a remnant is like really attracting some of these people that have been living in the exclusion zone for quite some time, who I believe had previously worked for the company that did all these experiments and kind of got trapped there. And they're really excited about that remnant, and you're able to like map various routes through the exclusion zone. So despite the areas changing, this car is able to still drive the same routes through certain areas, even though those areas change as you get into them. It's kind of hard to explain without you actually playing it, but it's called a horror game. I can't say, I don't know if I would call it horror, but
I would say it's more of a suspense or mystery.
The ambience that they include in this game is
tension.
Excellent. There is a lot of tension, and it comes from, not like I said, I mentioned it's rainy, it's dark. There are certain zones where there's like these extreme conditions, and for instance, there's one that just has eerie perpetual darkness. It's called eerie darkness is the condition. And it is that. It is very dark and it is very eerie. And this whole time, no matter where you're at, there's these noises going on in the backgrounds of like just like the sound of like metal creaking, but it's like as if the entire like the Iron Giant has rusted and is like walking beside you is what it sounds like. Or or if you remember some of the creepypastas like a Siren Head, like half the time I expect something like that to be walking out of the woods. There are enemies in this game. They're not monstrous, but they are anomalies. There are things like they call them there's a ton of them, but there's some of the first ones you come across are called abductors. They float around just checking shit out, and then if they come across you or your car, they will attach like a magnet or something to you and just drag you off somewhere, or the car, whether you're inside of it or not. It's not particularly dangerous until they start dragging you into other anomalies that will damage you. I have yet to die in this game, but you can die. But I have yet to die. I don't know if it's because I'm good or what, but
it's adaptive difficulty.
Gotta get that brag in there.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like it's definitely challenging, especially the further you go into the game. And I am fairly I've played about 20 hours or so. I've gotten there in the exclusion zone. There are three sections. So there's like the outer zone, which is generally not so bad, the mid zone, which gets harder, and then the deep zone, which I have not been in. I've only somewhat recently been into the mid zone. But yeah, so there's like anomalies like that. There are the creepiest ones, I think, in my opinion, are called tourists, and they're essentially crash test dummies that are just frozen, in various positions. They look like people that were like frozen in like, oh my god type of, expressions or, emotions or whatever. And for the longest time, I mean, they were creepy as is, and if you touch them, they explode, which I found out pretty quickly after I accidentally ran into them with my car. But for the longest time, I was sitting there, I'm like, oh, they're creepy. And I would get out of the car because I was like, okay, they're just statues or whatever. I would get out of the car, go into a building to like search for supplies to, that I need for upgrades and things like that. And I'd come back out and I'd be like, wait a minute. Did they move? I can't tell. It's fine. And so I'd get on and go my way. Only just like fairly recently, I was like, I caught it. I was doing something. I turned around and I caught one warping closer to my car and closer to me. Like, I actually caught like a few of them doing it. I was like, motherfucker, I knew it. So now I'm more afraid of them. And I mentioned upgrades and things like that. That is a major mechanic of the game. It's a survival game, but not in the sense that you need food or water or anything like that. You do go around searching for materials to upgrade and craft your equipment,
repair and everything for your car. And
Repair your car.
This is I'm gonna vent.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rant. I'm just gonna vent for a brief moment. This is so involved. Like I did not have the patience for how involved the crafting system is.
It's kind of overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much at like every wheel, every panel on your car, every window, every and you scrap things, and you got like your repair gels, and then like there's so much that ties together, and like it's really well done. Do not let this sound like it's not. Like it is well done.
I will say I have a rebuttal though. And that's that when you think of a survival game where there's crafting and upgrading and things like that.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of stuff. And I know you're
I hate games too. But I don't like that aspect of these type of games.
But the cool part,
give me a repair button and like auto collect all the shit that I need, and I'd be much happier.
The cool part about this game is that it's focused on this car and some of the things that you need to everything circles around back to this car. And at the beginning of the game they tell you that these remnants, the people, they will attach themselves to these people, not physically but mentally, and they become obsessed and go insane. And everything comes back around to this car that you're upgrading and getting these materials for, and it's focused on this car, and that's what I appreciate. That I actually think it makes it less overwhelming, because you're like, okay, yes, it's various small parts of these cars, the bumpers, the wheels, the hood, the doors, the panels, the engine, things like that. But it's you don't have to. It's not like a huge village or base that you're trying to upgrade. It's not these huge tech trees. It's very focused on the car and the garage that you put the car in after every run that you do.
Absolutely. Like it all ties really, really well. I don't like that style of gameplay. I like the one thing that would probably save that aspect for me, and like, again, this is really well done, and like I'm enjoying it, but I think the thing that would save it for me is if we find out that this is like inspired by the 2010 movie Rubber, where like instead of it being the killer tire, it's the killer car, and like we're beefing it up and upgrading it so it can like take over the world. Like that would save it. But like on the positives. Go ahead.
I said I was right there, exactly where you were, Rev, with it. Is that the game is beautiful. The atmosphere is great, and I loved the driving part. So you start out, and like the beginning of this game just sets the tone perfectly. When you get in and there's the music playing and you're driving down the highway. I mean, it's just really, really well done cinematic experience. And then, and I like driving games. So the driving the car part was great. They really do need to get steering wheel controller support in here. I have the whole setup here, and it's a first-person driving game without steering wheel
It'd be
support.
really cool in VR, actually, I think.
but that's fine. They are considering it, by the way. They have they have it on their to be considered to-do list of putting in steering wheel control at some point, but they don't know yet. But in any case, what I was saying is that there's so much that I liked about this game, and there is so much to like about this game. But I got to basically where you got, Rev, is where, okay, I got to the garage, and then, okay, this is getting way too overwhelming for me. It's just maybe not a game that was made for me, I suppose.
Man, it's really deep. Like I
like crafting games. I like the survival games we've been doing. I like the other survival game that we're covering later today. I like crafting survival games. There was just something that just felt to me to be an extra level of complex, which is probably what some people are looking for in games.
You know what I think it is?
They made this game obviously on purpose for an audience that exists, I'm sure. So
yeah, you know what I think it is, as we're watching the gameplay, as we're sitting here talking about it, I think it is the density of information in the menus. I think that's what really like exacerbates my feeling of oh my god, this is so much and it's too complex.
Okay, so I get a huge hit of serotonin anytime I'm upgrading, especially in the garage. I will say the one thing that I might complain about is not only is it for the story and the lore, like the dialogue that comes over from the three characters that you're talking to constantly. Yeah. You get a lot of the lore from that, but also a lot of the tutorial. And there were points where I felt lost because when these people are talking to you, you're in the middle of trying not to die, because you're out in the wilderness, like not knowing what's going on because you're discovering these anomalies, and that's part of the fun of this game as far as the tenseness goes. Is you're totally it's this complete unknown until you finally just shove yourself in there and figure out what everything does.
What's going on? Yeah.
And but in the midst of this, these people are telling you these things like do this and do this and do this, and I'm not listening to them because I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to be dragged away by this thing. What's going to happen to me? And I think that may be part of it. Because I really can't see, outside of the fact that it's car focused, I really don't see how it can be different from just about any other crafting game. In that sense, as far as overwhelming goes.
I really do think it's just the information density in the menus.
I can't really say what it is for sure either, honestly.
There is a lot of information in that logbook.
Point to, yeah.
It's just there's so much there, and there's so many options, and it just, to me, it feels a little bit overwhelming. And that's not to say it isn't well done. I also want to
and the gameplay is getting dragged off.
I also want to say the soundtrack for this is awesome. I want to talk about that for just a second.
About to say that, yeah. Go
ahead. Wilbert Roget II, Wilbert Roget or Roget, I don't know how to pronounce it. He's an accomplished composer, and the original soundtrack is all by him. He was a staff composer for LucasArts back in 2008, and worked on The Old Republic and stuff like that, and then went freelance and has done things like Call of Duty and Lara Croft and Mortal Kombat and all that sort of stuff. And so they got him to do this game, and it really shows the impact that music can have.
Yeah, I was gonna
Right,
say,
like-
I was gonna mention that because Vance had talked about how cinematic it was with the music going while you're driving,
Mhm.
and it's like the game is not cinematic in the sense that it's like a Naughty Dog game. You know what I mean? It is cinematic in the sense that it just feels that way as you're playing it. Because again, like you think about Twin Peaks when they're driving into town over the mountain roads or something like that. It was kind of that feel, and part of it, and I love. Outside of the creepy noises in the woods, I love driving in this game with the radio playing and like the rain just just rattling on top of the car. It's just such a cool feeling. And then same thing when you're in the garage, just fucking around with the car. And that's honestly, and I know again, the upgrading, you're not a fan of it, but when you're in the garage, there's no pressure to like move fast. You're just in there, just chilling, vibing, fucking around. And that music that you're playing on the jukebox in that garage, something about it is just very reminiscent. I mean, I guess it's exactly what it is, just in game form. But like if you are a car person or anyone that does any kind of workshop type of thing in your garage, and you have just like, you're just got the music playing on a radio and you're vibing with it and you're just in the zone, fucking around, having a good time. That's exactly what it's like when you're in there. Upgrading your car and the shop and everything like that. That's like my favorite part of the game. No stress and just doing that. I'll agree with Rev that these are all. There is a streamer friendly mode if you're worried about copyright music, because I think a lot.
There are 20 at least 20 licensed songs in this.
So yeah, these are licensed songs, but there is a streamer friendly mode if you want to play it on.
And the OST.
Yeah.
And speaking of the OST, that is available for purchase as well.
I'm gonna add that to our stream if I'm able to. Such good stuff. But Pacific Drive, it is made by Ironwood Studios. Currently 10% off at $26.99, normally $29.99, which is a fucking steal for this game, I think, personally. Or you can get the deluxe edition, which I think comes with like some.
It's the OST. Yeah, it's a customization pack.
Yeah.
Cosmetics themed around outer space exploration.
I even mentioned that like there's upgrades to your car that help you like progress in the games, but there's upgrades too that are just all cosmetic. You can paint, you can decal, you can add like little baubles inside and outside the car too. So keep that in mind if that's in your thing. But yeah, so any other things that you want to talk about with Pacific Drive? Or
it's a pretty game. I wish it wasn't as complicated as it feels.
It's not that complicated.
It's not. It's just, for me, it is.
It's just, if you're not into, I get it if you're not into these kinds of games, but if you are, it's
even if you aren't, like, I'm having fun with it.
Man, I will say,
like, I'm just overwhelmed.
As fucked up as the AAA games are that we've been talking about recently, as I switch over to phases here, with all the layoffs, the AA and especially the indies, like with Helldivers and Pacific Drive, because Helldivers I was kind of, but they were actually published by Sony, so I didn't.
The composer for Helldivers too composed Pacific Drive as well.
There you go. And this dude's fucking talented, because that's also an excellent soundtrack. I'd add that too if it was actually indie. But anyway, it is an excellent start to the year for the indie and AA side of games. Man, we're already getting. There's a game next week that we're going to be talking about. That's excellent, and already game of the year, multiple games of the year potential. Anyway, I'm really bad at transitions today, so
segues today.
Again.
Peep show.
Today on Peep Show, we are continuing our rundown of survival crafting games that we've been doing as of late with Nightingale. Nightingale is just an absolutely gorgeous game. It is, basically the core gameplay is what you'd expect from a survival crafting game. You are in the wilderness. There are some things out there that may try to kill you, and some of them you might try to kill to harvest their resources or whatnot, and you build yourself a little place and improve it and learn more and improve it and so forth, just like every other game in the genre. But I have to say,
you sound so bitter when you say that. You sound so bitter.
What is the alternative, Vance? What is the alternative to survival?
I'm just naturally a bitter person. But I was about to get into what I was going to say is this game is really enjoyable. I got started with it, and I saw a Steam review on it before playing it, which I think is very true. And the Steam review said, don't judge the game by the beginning of it, because it has the beginning part, the tutorial parts really aren't that good. But then once you actually get through and start playing the meat of the game, it really there's really something there to it, and what is there to me, I think that sets this game apart. The thing about this game that all of these survival games have had the same basic mechanics as each other, pretty much, almost exactly, right? But there's always something that sets it apart, right? Pal World, Enshrouded, this one. I think what to me sets this game apart so far is just how atmospheric and realistic this world feels. It is of all the games that we have played of these survival games recently, this one feels the most like you are in a real place that exists. The detail, the weather, the everything just feels like you are there.
Everything feels alive.
Yeah, I mean, just earlier I was playing the game and I was hunkered in my cabin with my one person that I had convinced to join me, and we were waiting in there for the rain thunderstorm to stop outside so we could get out and do the things we needed to do, and we were just in there, and it felt like I was in this desolate, unknown environment, huddled into our little space and looking out the windows at this raging storm. I mean, it feels like when you're walking around, even in the forest and whatnot, it feels like every single inch of this game was just handcrafted. It really is just a beautifully crafted game that, like I said, all of these games have something that sets them apart from just, the base survival crafting that is
another Minecraft.
One thing that this game touts is like it's cooperative base building, isn't it? Like you build like not just a base but like a whole community.
You can. So you can, but it's limited co-op. I think it's only like one other person. I think.
I don't think so.
You can hire NPCs that'll work for you.
Maybe that's what it is then, because I'm pretty sure there's gifts of like multiple players, but maybe those are NPCs that are working.
Yeah, you can hire NPCs.
Let me ask you this too, though. You guys were bitching about Pacific Drive and how it was overwhelming. This game wants you to build whole towns.
Mm-hmm.
That's not overwhelming to you? Rev has an excuse.
Here is the thing that's different about it to me, and I wanna make sure not to accidentally shit on Pacific Drive, because I am sure that there are certain people that have certain brain situations that like that game, and there are certain people who have certain brain situations that like this game, right? But to me, what this game, it feels to me, the way that my brain works, it feels like the ramp on board the crafting train is an easier walk up, right? When you have nothing and you're standing in an open field and you have to pick up some rocks and build a campfire and then just slowly build up from there. While in Pacific Drive, it's like, okay, now I have to, there's like all this stuff that's already here and I have to find it, and then I have to figure out how to use it, and it was a little bit more overwhelming.
I think the difference there is then that, one, Nightingale feels a little bit more familiar when it comes to survival crafting, and two,
that could be.
You mentioned how gradual it is. You start with nothing, you slowly build up, whereas Pacific Drive, you're thrown into the fire kind of because you're in this fucking world where everything's like just insane. So maybe that's what it is. It's just overwhelming, not even in the sense like the mechanics aren't overwhelming, but it's mentally overwhelming is what it is.
So that's exactly how I felt playing Pacific Drive.
Informationally traumatized.
A lot of overload.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll be honest. I wanted to play this game. I know I don't like these kind of games, but it looks so cool, and I love any kind of like that Western style setting. My laptop would not do it. I didn't even try.
We gotta get you some good technology.
I bought it, but I didn't. I'm not even gonna try playing it.
We gotta get you some good technology.
Maybe. It'll happen eventually.
Someday. Yeah, so let's see.
I've been saying that since we started. Jesus.
You had the same laptop for like a decade. So what is I mean, outside of the way this looks, Vance, like mechanically speaking, what is your favorite part about this? I mean, because I'm seeing, with the enemies, I'm seeing about there's like a management part of this when you're talking about your colony with the NPCs. What's your favorite part of this?
Well, I'm not too far into it. I just started playing it less than a week ago when we decided to cover it for the show. So I'm not terribly far into it. But I tend to like, just in general, this sort of game, right? I mean, I liked Pal World. I liked Enshrouded. I liked this game. I think my favorite part of it is what I just said, is that how much this game puts you into the actual role. Like a lot of the other games, like Enshrouded is very focused on its plot and its story that it's trying to get across. And Pal World has no plot or story. It is very focused on this like catching and managing pals thing. And while this one, I think, as far as I've found so far, it feels more focused on really making you feel like you are surviving in this real place that feels very realistic. Like the way that everything works just feels like it, and the look of the game and the weather cycles and the length of the day and night, and of course you can sleep during the night and get it over with, but I mean everything just it kind of comes together.
Just the immersiveness in general.
To make it incredibly immersive. Probably the most like just emotionally immersive crafting survival game I think I've played. Because I played a bunch of them, Ark, and a bunch of them from the past too. I think this one is kind of the most emotionally immersive, and I think the sound design and everything has a lot to do with that. The visuals, the way that the crafting is put together, like the things that you have to build and the way you go about it, because there are different ways that you can do things that are just slightly different that can affect the feel. And the fact that when you chop down a tree, it doesn't disappear like it does like in Enshrouded, for example. Like literally falls, and you have to move out of the way if it's falling on you, or you will die from a treetop falling on you. Right?
The forest does that too. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. There is one part of the game that I don't really know much about. There's like a card mechanic. Like you have to collect cards or something.
Yes, so you can go into different realms, and you create these realms by collecting cards. Well, that is also a really interesting thing. So you collect cards, and then you put them together into these generators that generate portals into other realms. And the cards that you put in is going to determine what that realm that you go into is like. So if I get a swamp card and a I don't know what all the cards are at the moment, but like a swamp card and a, I don't know, low gravity card or something, and like put all the cards together and like kind of craft this world.
So basically, you get to put together your own, like, deck build your own seed.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Oh, that's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
Really cool concept. Huh. I get my 5 magic cards, put them together. That forms the seed for my new realm to go explore.
You can travel between these too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're stuck in one. That's interesting.
Right.
And I would assume each biome or whatever that you create has its own resources, so it incentivizes you to grow them. Okay.
Yeah, and the tutorial kind of walks you through but I call it the tutorial. It's really the beginning of the game. It's not like a skippable thing, but it's like it kind of, you go through a bunch of them before you even get to the place where you finally end up playing the game and building your base and everything. So you get to experience kind of the different kinds of places that you could go. But yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to add, but maybe there isn't.
I mean, while you're thinking, just real quick in the meantime, Nightingale is made by Inflexion Games, spelled with an X in there, so I'm not 100% sure. And it is currently $29.99 early access. Of course, this is Peep Show, so that means I wonder if they. I don't know. Did you notice if they have a roadmap somewhere? Because it seems like it's pretty fleshed out already. So, but they're going to be adding more. I would assume.
There are a few things that feel like, you know, that they could use some improvement. Just some small things like your character like looks down at the ground way too often. Like you need to kind of maybe.
I do see
things like that, but
I do see they're saying that they're going to be adding more realms. There's going to be new creatures to hunt. Let's see.
Up to 6-player co-op.
More building and tools. More parts of the estate management. A progression system that spans a lot further. And cooperative play up to 6 players. So there's your answer on that. That if it's not already, then they're planning on having cooperative play up to 6 players. But the cool thing is that they're keeping that at this point anyway, that they are not planning on increasing the price as well. So support the game, check it out. I'd love to play. I haven't had a chance to. I tried to get a key, but I got Pacific Drive first and never got one from them. So I was like, all right, I'm going to play Pacific Drive, and I ended up getting sucked into that. Good job, Inflexion Games. And if you, let's stick with the theme this episode. Fuck it, free fun.
Finally, tonight on Free Fun, we're going to talk about something that I think is one person's dealing with the existential dread of existence.
Being
you're
a
actually
game dev specifically throughout
an indie game. Yeah. Like this. Games. A narrative bent to it. Did I freeze again?
Your camera's like maybe, and then you're all right now.
Man, okay. I'm sorry, guys. Technology is screwing me today. Like I enjoy games that have kind of like that personal touch, as it were. I really like when artists put a lot of who they are into their artwork. Like one of my favorite games that we have ever covered is That Dragon Cancer, which a lot of people could argue that it wasn't a game. Yeah, Papa and Yo, you know, things where they're like, yeah, this was my experience and this is how I'm going to process it. And I think you'll get that feel in this game. It's relatively short. It's fine. But it is staged as though it is a independent game developer's last project because they have no money to keep doing development and they have no food and they're going to be evicted and life sucks. So let me do this, you know, pointless fucking game. There's only one ending, as far as I am aware, and that's it. Like you're just gonna go through and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing these things. I like, I'll be honest, I haven't had a lot of time to dive into this. I feel really bad.
It's very meta, obviously, but
is it?
I don't know if this was on purpose, but the fact that it's free, too, talking about a game, I'm losing my voice. talking about a game dev that's struggling, and then he goes and puts out a game that's free, talking about him struggling. So there's no income from this.
And the whole game, the point of the whole thing is how games kind of cheat you into continuing to play them, right? That's the theme of the whole thing that he's covering in this whole thing. And so his game is free, so he's not really cheating you out of anything except your time, I suppose. But I mean, that's the whole kind of thing that this game kind of,
the conceit of it all,
comes in on, always keeps narrowing in on throughout the whole thing, is making the game easier so that you feel like you're a winner more often, and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I like their list of features too. It's short, but it's very poignant. An experimental short interactive experience. Follow the downward spiral of a solo indie game dev. These are features, by the way. Copious amount of optional reading. Existential dread. Variety of mini games. Confront the fear of death. Ultra-wide support. Your choices do not matter, and one singular ending, as you said. So I don't know. It's a really cool commentary on game dev, and not only just the game dev side, but the player side as well, and the relationship that game devs and players have, as Vance was talking about. As a game dev, out of the three of us, you are the game dev here. How does this strike you? Like, does it? Do you
thematically? Are
you feeling this substantially? Did you experience existential dread?
The kind of thing that he's addressing in this game doesn't really apply to me very much, because largely, like I said, he's addressing things like, creating the reward loop addiction
and Skinner boxes.
That's more like it's more like sort of like what mobile games do. That sort of keep the person clicking. It doesn't matter if the game is actually fun. If they just feel good because
that's serotonin.
Get a "you win" message, then
I think about that playing mobile games too. Like everything, every little detail about it too, especially those mobile game studios that are making a shit ton of money, and even if they're shitty, like you said, but every little thing down from not just the gameplay loop, but like the little sounds that happen, the little effects that happen, they all release those chemicals in your brain.
And they address that in this game too. One of the things that, this is a type of game that I really have a soft spot for. I really was glad that I played this game, and the type of game that this is, I would refer to as purposely annoying.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
no, I
of
can get that.
games like that. Yeah.
So I mean, if you know anything about me, and I don't try to do it too much in like my commercial games, but some of my jam games and other kind of projects, and
He's just a troll.
you know that, yeah, I do have a little bit of troll blood in me when it comes to and this is right up my alley. Like, the game is fucking annoying to play. It is annoying. Like, it purposely annoys you. Like the OS section where it's like every single time you try to do something like on a timer, like, okay, once you start to do something, it pops up another like 3-question quiz. But you can't just answer the quiz questions, because after you answer each question, then you have to check boxes saying, yes, this is actually what I intended to answer. I answered truthfully. Then you have to check all the check boxes and press submit for 3 questions, and then you can go back to what you were doing. But then, like, pretty soon after, it'll pop up again. But like, that's the kind of thing. This game is not meant to be fun. It is interesting. It is even like it is an interesting, worthwhile experience, but it is not meant to be a fun experience.
Honestly,
if you know what I mean.
I think this game is a really good example of games being art, right?
Yeah.
And not art in a traditional sense. This is art in the sense that it's commentary. It's a message that it's trying to parlay into the players.
There's a four line that I think encapsulates it.
Go ahead and type that into the chat so we can read it for you, because you're freezing up every time you say the thing. But yeah, I don't know, everything in this game is just, honestly, it's well thought out, in the message that they're trying to relay to the audience. So I'm really impressed by this game, and what they were trying to do. I will try and say this name. It is not a standard English name, so I hope I don't butcher it, but the developer is Kahin Yun Yun Yun, I think.
I don't know either.
You're the one that lives in Asia.
I live in Korea. I don't live in China.
Is that Chinese? I don't know. I don't know.
It looks Chinese to me. It's not Korean.
Oh,
I think it's Chinese. It's not Japanese. So I think it's Chinese. Yeah.
Okay. Point is, you're good, Rev. You're back. You want to try again?
I'll try again real
You
quick
look so
before
sad.
my connection dies again. I'm so irritated right now. The lines are: this is a satirical work, this is a cynical work, this is an honest work, this is a glimpse into the heart of a solo indie game dev.
It is.
Did I come through?
It is very cynical. It did. It is definitely very cynical. It's as the kids say, big mood. Honestly, though, it feels more millennial than it does Zoomerish, but
yeah, and as Rob said, it's short, and it's free, so go fucking get it and play it if you're watching this. What are you waiting for? The show's over, so go fucking
exactly.
do it.
So go fucking do it. And because the show's over, I want to thank Preposterone, who's one of our Patreon supporters. Let me get off the screen. That was a good transition. That it's so good that it was unprepared. Preposterone's one of our Patreon supporters, and I want to say thank you to him for financially supporting us. You can also financially support us through Twitch by subscribing and merchandise. That's another way to do it. Non-financial ways to support us: you can also send us news and games to check out through email. contact@indiegameriot.net. That's the email address. You can chat with us on Twitter @IndieGameRiot. You can find us on Discord at the links below. and that's a really good place to talk with us directly, honestly. And I think this is, as far as that sort of stuff goes. Reminder again, Indie Revolution Expo. Check it out, indierevolutionexpo.com. Go register your games, your talks. You can even be just a volunteer if you want to. There's a registration for that as well. IRX Jam. Go make a game like nothing matters.
Bam.
Throw your hands up in the air like nothing matters. Yeah, and for those of you who are live, we are, again, just a reminder, we have an edited version that's all nice and put together coming out the next day. For those of you listening to the edited version, we are live pretty much every Tuesday, unless Rev has, like, work. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And, yeah, find us on various platforms. Any last words, gentlemen?
Multivitamin.
Take your pills.
Guys, go check out the games. Why not? Why not? And also, fuck the DMV.
Vance never has any words. We're gonna get one out of him one day.
I am a man of few words.
I'm gonna send you a dictionary just so you have a copy of all of the words.
That was 7 words.
Me no word lot.
Anyway, say your goodbyes.
Have a good one,
Bye-bye.
folks.